there, readers. Welcome to the Reader's Garden. I'm Mrs. Gardner. Today we're going to be talking about Getting Ready Lesson B, and it's all about our sound wall. Did you know that every sound we make falls into one of two categories, consonants and vowels? And guess what? It all comes down to how we use air to make these sounds. For consonant sounds, we actually are going to be interrupting or blocking the air in different ways inside of our mouths. Some consonants are voiced, which means our vocal cords buzz, while others are unvoiced, so there's no buzzing. Pretty interesting, isn't it? We are going to be talking about our sound wall in our lesson today, and then we'll do a little bit of letter formation practice. I'm going to introduce the consonant sound wall to you today. You've probably seen something like this before, maybe in your classroom or wherever you're learning right now. We're going to be exploring all the amazing sounds we can make with our mouths. We're going to break down the 24 consonant sounds and then organize them on the sound wall so that we can see how each sound is made and where it comes from in our mouth. By understanding these sounds and where they come from, we'll be able to recognize them better and use them when we're reading and speaking. So let's dive in and start building our sound wall together. Consonant sounds are created by moving different parts of our mouths, like our lips and our teeth and our tongues, and often one part of our mouth is touching another part of our mouth to make these sounds. On our consonant sound wall chart here, all along the top of it, you'll see in yellow there, it shows the different places where those sounds can be made in our mouths. So I took all those titles and I moved them up to the top of the board there. And underneath each of these, you'll see a different mouth shape. So for example, under lips together, all the way over there, it shows lips together. Next to it, it says teeth on lips, and you see my favorite picture, it looks so silly, of your teeth on your lips there. And then for tongue between teeth, there's a photo of the tongue between teeth. Now you'll notice for tongue behind top teeth and tongue lifted, there's 3 pictures showing each of the ways that your mouth can make those types of sounds. So for those, we form them in more than one way. Same with for tongue pulled back, there's 2 ways we can form it. And then for back of throat right here, there's one way to form that. So we'll be using these pictures on our consonant sound wall to show us how we make each sound. This is what our chart will look like when we're all done and we've explored every single bit of it. So right now when we see it, there's a lot here, but by the end of this video, you will know a little bit about each of these different sounds. First sound we're going to be talking about is lips together. You can see in the picture next to me here, we have a very large mouth photo showing lips together. Notice how the lips are closed pretty tightly. Now, can you think of any sounds that we make with our lips together? Oh, I know. We can make p and b and with our lips together. Each of these sounds is made just by bringing our lips together, but each sound actually feels a little bit different. For the p and the b sound, we start by blocking the air completely. Then we release it with a little burst. The p sound doesn't use our voice at all, so it's called an unvoiced sound. And that means you don't feel your throat buzzing when you do the p sound. Try it. While the b sound does use our voice, which means we feel a buzz when we do b, b, b. And for the we close our lips and hum to just let a little bit of sound flow actually through our noses. Or the sound you would make if something smelled delicious. That's the sound. So give each of these a try and see how the air is moving or not moving with your mouths. The next sound is teeth on lips. See how with this, our bottom lip is touching our top teeth. Can you think of any sounds that use this sort of silly mouth shape? What sounds use this? Well, there's 2, the f and the v sound. When we press our bottom lip lightly against our top teeth, we can control the airflow to make some specific sounds. So for example, when we make the f sound, like at the start of the word fish, we don't actually turn our voice on for that f sound. It's an unvoiced sound, so there's no buzzing in our vocal cords. Fish, fish. So we only hear the buzzing with the ish part of the word, not the f part. When we make the v sound, like in the beginning of the word van, we actually do turn our voice on, which gives it a gentle buzzing feeling. Van, van, try it. This sound is voiced, so you can feel your vocal cords vibrating when you say van. So it's interesting, with just this small movement, bringing our bottom lip up to meet our top teeth, we can create 2 different sounds simply by turning our voice on or off. So go ahead and practice those sounds. The third place that we can make sounds is with our tongue between our teeth. See how the mouth is open just a bit and the tongue is resting between the top and the bottom teeth? This position helps us to make specific sounds that feel a little bit breezy as the air flows around the tongue. Can you think of any sounds that we make with our tongue between our teeth? One of them is like in the word think and the word this. There are actually two types of sounds. The first, like in the word think, is actually unvoiced, which means we don't use our vocal cords. Say think, think. There's no buzzing in the beginning. The second, like in the word this, is voiced. So now say this, this, this. Now try think, this. Not buzzing, then buzzing. Isn't that interesting? So try both of those sounds going back and forth so you can feel the difference between the voiced and the unvoiced. And just know that when you make that sound, sometimes you might spit a little bit. So make sure you have a little bit of space around you if you're going to be practicing this sound. The next sound that we're going to talk about is tongue behind top teeth. So we have different ways that we can make this sound. Notice how with this top picture, just the tip of the tongue touches just behind the top teeth. That spot is key for some important sounds. And then in this bottom corner picture, you can see that the tongue is behind the top teeth, but the mouth is more closed. And for the one right there, you can see that our mouth is just a little bit more open. So there's three ways that we can make the tongue behind the top teeth sound. Now, can you think of sounds that use this mouth shape? Which sounds? Well, there's actually a lot, so we're going to go by them little by little. So a few of these that we can talk about are the sounds t, d, and n. For example, when we make the t sound, like in top, we block the air with our tongue and release it pretty quickly. The d sound, as in dog, is similar, but with our voice turned on. Like nest, nest. You are using your tongue behind your top teeth. When we make the s sound, like in sit, our tongue creates a narrow opening for the air to just sort of flow through, and we don't turn our voice on. For the z sound, like in zip, our tongues are in the same place, but we do turn our voices on, which gives the sound that buzzing feeling. Zip, zip versus sit, sit. So sit down and zip up your coat. Sit down and zip up your coat. I feel a difference in the buzzing. Lastly, for the oo sound, like in the word lip, it's made with our tongue touching right behind the teeth and the air flows around the sides of the tongue. Lip, lip. So I want you to try each of these different sounds so you can experiment with them a little bit. So up top, we've got t, d, n, then s, z, and l. If you need to, pause on this one so you can practice all of those sounds. So the fifth place we can make sounds is with our tongue lifted to touch the roof of our mouth. When I lift my tongue to say shh, the middle part of my tongue touches the roof of my mouth. Try it. Shh, shh. Do you feel where your tongue is in your mouth? Now, do you know any other sounds that we can make with our tongue lifted up like this? Here's a few that we can talk about. So for example, when we say shh, like in shell, our tongue lifts to the roof of our mouth, but the air flows out slowly and pretty quietly. The zh sound, such as in the word measure, is similar, but our voice is on, giving it more of a buzzing sound. So shell, measure. Feel the difference in your throat when you say those words. The next sound we're going to talk about is j, like in the word jellyfish. It also uses our tongue lifted, but the air is blocked briefly before it's released as a burst. J, j, jellyfish. Jellyfish. It's interesting to try this looking in a mirror too and see what your own mouth looks like. That's actually the best way you can see when I'm talking about how your mouth looks like the pictures. The ch sound, like in chocolate, also uses the tongue lifted, but the air is blocked briefly before it's released in a burst. Now for that other mouth shape, for the y, as in yarn, the tongue is lifted in a way that lets the air flow with just that little extra y sound. Yarn, yarn, yarn. Then we have one more for this type, for our tongue lifted. We have like in rainbow. Our tongue lifts and curls slightly, creating a pretty unique shape. This sound is actually one of the hardest sounds in the English language to make. So if it's a little tricky for you, know that this one just takes a little extra time for some people. It was really hard for me when I was a little kid. So give each of these sounds a try and notice how your tongue lifts and moves in similar ways, but that the sound changes depending on how your tongue is interacting with the roof of your mouth. The roof of your mouth is the top of your mouth. The sixth place that we can make sounds is with our tongue pulled back. See how in these pictures the tongue pulls back and up to touch parts of the roof of the mouth? This position is used for some very important sounds. Can you think of any sounds that use these two positions? The first one we'll talk about is the k sound, like in cat. The tongue touches the back part of the roof of the mouth and the air is blocked, and then it's released in a burst. For the g sound, like in go, that sound is made in the same place, but with that sound, we use our vocal cords, giving it the buzzing sound. So try saying cat, cat, and now say go, go, cat, go. Feels like I'm giving very rudimentary instructions to a cat. Now let's look at that other spot that they could be. Oh, also I wanted to tell you about for the sound, such as in the word wing, wing. Inside the word wing, there's a and in that sound, our tongue touches the same spot, but the air is actually flowing through our nose because we're making a nasal sound. So try saying wing, wing, and feeling how your nose is involved. Or the word ring, ring. That is that that's in the tongue pulled back category. So it's different than the like in the beginning of the word nest. This is where English is so interesting because we have one grapheme, one letter, making sounds in different ways and actually using different parts of the mouth. So finally, for the tongue pulled back category, we have w, like in the word water. For w, the tongue is pulled back slightly, but the air is flowing around the sides of the tongue, giving it that w sound. So try that w, water, water. And it's interesting to think about how the air is flowing when you're making that sound. So for the seventh and final place we can make sounds, it's in the back of our throat. When I make a sound here, my tongue pulls back and almost blocks the back of my mouth. Can you think of the one sound that we make in the back of our throats? It's the sound, like in the word hat. We create the sound by letting air flow through the back of our throat without using our vocal cords. It's a breathy sound and it comes from very back here. So try hat, hat, or hand. I'm going to take my hands and make a hat. So try saying and notice how the air just flows out gently from the back of your throat. That is the end of our very, very complicated yet interesting sound wall lesson today. In all of our lessons going forward, we're going to be talking about each of those sounds and how they're made. This was just sort of a general overview of everything on that sound wall. So let's talk a little bit about letter formation. We're going to practice drawing lines in the air. You can use your tracing finger or you can use your whole arm to trace. I really like to use my tracing finger because it feels kind of like if I was writing with like a marker or a pen. And I like to trace in the air, but you can also trace on a table if you're sitting at a table, or you can trace on the floor with your finger if you're on the floor. All right, so this is a vertical line. A vertical line goes up and down. And here's how we make a vertical line. We're going to start at the top and go straight down and stop at the bottom. Let's try tracing a vertical line together. Start at the top, straight down. Beautiful. Do it again. Start at the top, straight down. You can trace as many vertical lines as you want. And if you need to, pause the video. Now this is a horizontal line. A horizontal line goes from left to right or from right to left. So here's how we make a horizontal line. We will start at the middle of our paper and go straight across this way. I'm going to use my tracing finger to start and go over, start and go straight across. Imagine just writing in the air. Now let's trace as many horizontal lines as we want to, left to right or right to left, whatever feels comfortable right now. These are slanted lines. Slanted lines look a lot like slides that you might see on the playground. We can make a slanted line in a few different ways. Sometimes we start at the top and slide down like that. Other times we start at the bottom and slide back up like that. Let's try skywriting a few different slanted lines. I'm going to start at the top and go down, and then I'm going to go from the bottom and go back up. Now I'm going to go from the top and go back down, and from the bottom, go back up. You can trace them in as many different ways as you would like to. And here's my interactive tracer with me here. Let's try starting at the bottom and sliding up and then sliding back down. And then starting at the bottom, sliding up and then sliding back down. You're welcome to do this as many times as you would like. All right, that brings us to the very end of our lesson for Getting Ready Lesson B. We can check off our letter formation since we're all done with that today. Wow, we really did a lot today. Today we learned all about the different places in our mouths where we make sounds, and then we finished up by tracing some different lines. Tracing those lines is a great way to help us get ready for when we start making letters. Thank you so much for reading and learning with me today in the Reader's Garden. Please take a moment to like and subscribe so you never miss a lesson with me. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.